Hi there, everybody. I'm Jarrett Brew, and I'm your host of today's masterclass sponsored by Situation Hub. Situation Hub is a crisis communications app that actually writes news releases for you. And our topic today is change the way you write news releases. And this topic came about on a couple of reasons. Number one, I received a long letter from ADT, the company that I buy my burglar alarm for my house. And it took two paragraphs, really long paragraphs with lots of commas, lots of big words and lots of bragging. And at the end of the second paragraph, it told me my alarm service was going up by 84 cents. And I went, oh my gosh, I've been in corporations where I'll bet you it took like 2 or 3 weeks to approve and authorize that news release. So that got me thinking about the whole editing process and the trauma that everyone goes through when they need to get a news release out fast. In crisis communications, time is important. We've talked about this in other master classes. So today we're going to dig into how you write, why you write the way you write. Is it the best way to write? Should you just go off on your own and do something different? So let's jump into the slide share today and start the program. Just to timestamp this, it is November 11th, 2021. Thank you to all of you who are veterans around the world who have served us to keep us safe. My name is Jarrett Brew. My background is 15 years as a TV reporter, which greatly shapes how I write news releases and what we're going to cover today. But in 1994, I left TV and I started working as a media trainer. That then merged into doing crisis communications and writing crisis communications plans. So the three ways that you'll often see me is either I'm training your spokespeople, I'm helping you write a crisis communications plan, or I'm speaking at a conference on one of those two topics. And then last year, I launched the software platform called Situation Hub with the idea that I was going to take thousands of news releases that I've written over the decades and automate the process so that you could communicate in a crisis at the speed of social media. Our objective today and our objective in every masterclass is to share best practices, to do some higher level thinking. And I just want us to have a good community for learning here. I would say 2/3 of the people on this are just here because they want to learn. The other third are actually subscribers to Situation Hub. So feel free to share the links with people. It's a community. I always tell you to think of crisis communications like an umbrella. You don't buy an umbrella because you hope it rains today. You buy an umbrella in case it rains today, in case your good day becomes an ugly day. And that's why I'm always trying to encourage people to prepare on a clear, sunny day for what might befall them on their worst day. Now, as we look at situations, as we look at definitions, I define a crisis as any situation that has the ability to affect your revenue, reputation, and brand in a negative way. A situation might start to emerge, doesn't mean you have to put out a statement, but immediately you should start preparing for it in case it gets worse. And just to add context, I always practice 5 steps to effective crisis communications, which is to do a vulnerability audit on a clear sunny day to look at what could go wrong. Then, based on that, write your crisis communications plan. And also based on that vulnerability assessment, build a library of pre-written news releases. And that's part of what we're going to talk about today. Then you need to train your spokespeople, and then you need to do crisis communications drills. So step 3 is really where we're going today. And I'm going to challenge you to change the way you write crisis communication statements. And here's the big question that I have to ask you. When you're writing these statements, who are you writing them for? Are you writing your statement for your English teacher? Are you writing your statement for your public relations instructor? Are you writing it for the journalism teacher that you had? Who are you writing it for? Because, I've been active in PRSA and IBC and other organizations for many years where the entire organization is built of writers. And I think we have this certain guilt. We have a teacher, an instructor that we love sitting on our shoulder. And every time we hit the keyboard, we're hearing their voice and we're hearing their instructions. But are you writing for them or are you writing for your audience? That's the question we have to ask and answer for ourselves today. Did you go to school a long time ago like I did? And what your instructor taught you could technically be out of date today because we live in an age of social media. And if a fire breaks out at your facility, wherever you work, whatever corporation you're associated with, if a fire breaks out and you need to get a news release out, you know eyewitnesses are already posting pictures. So how much time are you going to spend and invest in first draft, then the approval process, then second draft, then the approval process? You know, I watch time and again when major incidences are happening, and on average, I watch 3.5 hours go by without a statement, and it drives me crazy. So let's dig in today on the task of this. All right, in the chat box, you can write an answer here. So get ready for the chat box. The question we're going to ask you is when a crisis is unfolding and you need to get a statement out, which of these three is most important? Number one, which is getting the statement out fast. Number two, getting the statement out accurately. Number three, not releasing that statement until it's perfect. If you're confused, you can put either just one answer or you can list them in order. So number one, getting the statement out fast. Number two, getting the statement out accurately. Number three, releasing the statement only after it's perfect. Let's look in the chat space. Go to the chat space. Give me your answer. All right. Somebody said definitely not number three. Rick says get it out fast, just letting your audience know that you're on the case. Yep. Yeah, get it out fast. Let them know. So a couple people, Jim says two, be accurate. Number one, then be fast. Number three, I would agree with that. Mary says number one first, be fast. Number two after. Anybody else want to put in an answer there? Last call before we go back to the screen. Okay, so here is where I would go with this. I really, really, really want it to be fast, but it has to be accurate. So my choice, it's kind of a trick question. Number two is most important for me, followed by number one, but I'm going to do number two and number one at the same time. Number three is never the right answer, in my opinion. So everything here is your opinion or my opinion today. And quit trying to get the language finessed because your audience doesn't care. Pull out some news releases from other companies, not your own news release, because of course your news releases are perfect, but pull out some news releases from other companies and read them. Go online to different corporations and look in their newsroom and then critique it, print it out and mark it up with a red pen. Look, we all have them. That's the only kind of pen I have in my house is a red pen because we're so used to marking up statements. So as an experiment, I asked you to look at a statement that I created, and then I asked you to either approve that statement as is. We did this, prior to class. So 3 of you sent back edits. To show you all where the statement came from, I am going to share the screen one more time. Some of you use Situation Hub, some of you don't use Situation Hub. So I'm going to show you how we created the statement, why we created the statement, how it was done, and how fast we did it. So if somebody wants to put a stopwatch on me, this is Situation Hub. This is a chemical company. And let's say that you work for a corporation, whether it's chemical, electric, hospital, public agency, government agency, doesn't matter. They're all going to be about the same. Okay. Fire breaks out. You log into Situation Hub. And in this case, I want a statement fast. I'm going to choose the first critical statement, which is a holding statement. It's going to have a preamble. I'm going to accept it. I'm going to say that I have a fire. I am going to pick my time. Let's go with the default time of 12:30 in the afternoon. The address is 123 Main Street. And the location is known as our Houston facility. And we're going to say the fire is ongoing. We're going to say there are no known fatalities. There are no known injuries. I'm going to say everyone is accounted for. We've requested assistance from, let's say it's a fire department, and the fire department always brings out EMS. I'm going to put the name of the fire department in here. So we're going to say this is in Houston. All right, a couple of benign statements that are important. Members of the team are in the process of gathering additional facts. Yep. And I'm going to encourage everybody not to speculate, and I'm going to encourage people not to share bogus information on social media. I'm going to ask interested parties in the media to expect additional updates from us. I'm going to post something to my website, and boom, I'm going to create my statement. I'm going to ask them to bear with us because we're still gathering stuff. And what's that? Under 60 seconds, there's my statement. I'm going to then hit the alert team button. I'm going to send an alert out, and alert's going to go out to all of the team, and it's going to come up on everybody's cell phone. There it is. It just came up on my cell phone, and it came up by an email. And this is where the statement came from that we're using in our little so-called contest. Okay, so I'm going to blow it up in size a little bit so that you can read it. And the statement was emailed out. It's on the Bro Communications blog if you want to print out a copy of it. But the opening sentence is, at Chemical Company ABC, one of our goals is to always keep our employees, our community, our customers, and the media apprised of activities at our facility. We can confirm at this time we're responding to a fire. The event began at 12:30 p.m. The address is 123 Main Street. The location of the event is known as our Houston facility. The event is ongoing. We can confirm there are no fatalities. We can confirm there are no known injuries. At this time, everyone is accounted for. We've requested assistance from the Houston Fire Department and EMS. Members of our team are in the process of gathering additional facts about this event. We encourage everyone to avoid speculating about the facts of this incident. Likewise, we caution the public that what you see on social media may not be accurate. We encourage you to rely only on information from official sources, such as agencies responding to this event. We ask the media and all interested parties to expect additional updates from us. We'll post any updates to our website. In the meantime, please bear with us. And if I like it, I'm publishing it. And boom, in seconds, I'm going to have a news release that I'm going to copy and paste and put on my website. So then that brings us to your thoughts on edits. Jim, you're going to be up first there. If you can unmute yourself, I'm going to share a couple of edits that Jim sent to us. All right, Jim, are you unmuted?
Correct.
All right, sir. So we sent this to Jim. Jim is a Situation Hub user. He said on here that he arranged the order a little bit. Seemed like if I mention a fire, the next thing he wants to do is mention the fire department. And then, so he moved the fire department name up. And then he also changed the language from everyone is accounted for to we can confirm everyone is accounted for. Just a couple of thoughts there, Jim. What was your thought when you were going through here?
Well, it just seemed like if I were inclined to be suspicious, which, you know, I sort of assume that most everyone on social media is.
Yeah.
If you say you've got a fire, why is the, you know, that's the number 10 basically? It seems like you're kind of burying the lead.
Okay.
And then also, you know, while I know that from my days covering the beat, I know that when the fire department rolls out, so does EMS. But when we said there are no known fatalities and no known injuries, and everyone's accounted for, it kind of made me think, well, why is EMS out? So I just thought maybe if we tried to make those congruent, if you will, maybe that would sort of clear up any, or at least help us, I guess, with the point about we encourage everyone to avoid speculating.
Okay, sounds good. I appreciate you participating in this. It was great having you. Let's see. We had one submitted by Marie. I don't think Marie made it. Marie lives in the Dominican Republic. If you're on the call, Marie, jump in. I'm not seeing your icon there. Let's see. Now, here's what Marie did. So if you'll notice what Jim did was Jim left all the numbers in place. I leave numbers in place because when I'm editing or when I need to ask a colleague to help me edit, I can shout out the edits. Jim probably didn't spend more than 2 minutes or 2 seconds copying and pasting and moving that. So he didn't use a lot of time. Marie sent us these edits. And one of the things we asked you in the contest was list when you began. So she started at 1:10 her time, and it took her 14 minutes to make edits. So one of the questions I'm going to ask as we review what she wrote is, are these edits worth 14 minutes? Okay, so if fast is important and if accuracy is important, is number 3 that we talked about earlier, being perfect, important? So she changed it to fire, a headline, fire at ABC Houston facility under control. She then wrote, there are no known fatalities or injuries resulting from a fire at the ABC Chemical Houston facility. The event, which began at approximately 12:30 p.m. at 123 Main Street, Houston, Texas, is ongoing, but is being contained at this time. Both the Houston Fire Department and EMS are on site for everyone is accounted for. Members of our team are in the process of gathering additional facts about this event, and the updates will be posted to our website at companyname.com. We ask the media and all interested parties to expect additional updates from us. The public is also encouraged to avoid speculating about the facts of the incident and to seek information from credible official sources only, such as our company website and our social media platform, as well as agencies responding to the event. We see what's happening there. See how hard it is to read? There are too many commas here, right? We wish to assure you that one of our goals at ABC Chemical is to always keep our employees, our community, customers, and the media apprised of activities at the facility, and ask that you bear with us in the meantime as we respond to the incident. So Marie is not on the class right now. She'll be watching the replay. So one of the things that your English teacher and your public relations teacher want you to do is to put out statements in paragraphs. And one of the things that Jared doesn't want you to do is to spend time putting out information in paragraphs. In an age where people scan, bullet points are super effective. If you do search engine optimization on your website, then you know that Google rewards you when you number paragraphs or add bullet points. The other thing that I would say is the more you add paragraphs, the more you add commas. And then when you add commas, adults fight over commas. So I've been in these crisis command centers where people are fighting over commas, and it just drives me nuts, because I need accurate and fast, and they're trying to make it perfect. The other thing is, again, it's that English teacher, that professor, that college professor on your shoulder that you're really trying to please. Your audience doesn't care. They want to skim. I'm going to teach you a couple of other things in a moment, but let's look at the next example, which is coming from Ashley. Ashley, can you unmute yourself?
It's Abby.
Abby. I am sorry, Abby.
Well, that's okay.
All right, Abby, here is what Abby used. She began at 9:12 this morning. She kept the numbers. She did 10 minutes worth of editing. And she says, we can confirm that along with Houston Fire Department and EMS, we're responding to a fire at the ABC chemical facility in Houston. It began at 12:30 p.m. and is an ongoing situation. Everyone is accounted for at this time. Members of our team are in the process of gathering additional facts about the event and working with proper authorities on the situation. We ask the media and all interested parties to expect additional updates from us, and we'll post those updates to our website. In the meantime, please bear with us. And Abby, why don't you walk us through your thoughts when you were making these edits, and here are your cliff notes that you sent to me if you want to go through them.
I guess I kind of took the bullet point thing to the extreme because mine is really short. And then I guess I kind of had the thought too of if it's a fire, we should lead with the fact that, we have fire department involved in the situation right away. And then if there's the positive information that everyone's accounted for, I just thought leaving it at that rather than using the words fatality or injuries at all, because I don't know, people kind of half listen or half read things sometimes. And even if those words are in there, they might think they might miss the word no or something. And kind of the same with the reminding people not to speculate. I felt like, well, if we tell them not to speculate, they'll think, well, is there something to speculate about? Is there more to the story? That kind of, I don't know. I may have taken it a little too extreme about keeping it short and accurate. But to be honest, if I had as many bullet points as you gave us to begin with within a timely manner, that would be an amazing thing to begin with. So
what I love about what you did, Abby, is you gave me the thought process, as did Jim, and everybody here who participated, the three of you who participated, gave me your thought process. And the reason I really wanted to capture that thought process is when we are in a command center and the clock is ticking and social media is filling up with garbage, these are the very discussions that we're having. And what we have to ultimately decide is, are they worth having these discussions? And how do we minimize these discussions? And how do we more effectively get to the bottom line? And I'm going to teach you a little bit of the secret sauce that I use and why I use it. I am a huge advocate that, and this is based on years of media training and years of being in the media. The first pain point that people have is they feel they are taken out of context. So a preamble is designed to add some degree of context. Now, this preamble is for a holding statement that I call the first critical statement. And in a second hour document, it would have a more empathetic preamble. But I'm always a fan of opening with the preamble. Marie moved it to the bottom. I always put it at the top to add context. Next, I'm writing the script for the spoken word. And one of the reasons I have a beef with Mrs. Johnson, that's my make-believe English teacher today. Mrs. Johnson was actually the name of one of my English professors in journalism at Louisiana Tech when I was in college. My journalism professor would give me an A in writing, and Mrs. Johnson would give me a C. And the writing style was the same. And what I didn't realize in my anger at Mrs. Johnson at the time is that it's two different writing styles. Two different writing styles. She wanted me to be embellishing with prose and things like this, whereas in journalism, we needed to get to the who, what, when, where, why, and how fast. And when it comes to writing news releases, one of the things I would ask all of you to consider changing is to write for the spoken word and not write for the written word. Let me say that again. Write for the spoken word. Write the way you talk. What you write for the written word is great if it's in a magazine or on paper, and I get to read it 2 or 3 times, but you've all been in there to where you read a line multiple times just to try to get that comprehension. But if we write the way we talk, it's good for the ear, it's good for the eyes, it's good for the mouth. You get maximum comprehension when you write for the spoken word. Secret here, just about every one of my news releases is just a news story waiting to happen. That's all it is. It's a news story waiting to happen. All right, I'm going to cover who, what, when, where, why, and how. So here it is. I don't think I'm burying the lead if I say we can confirm we're responding to a fire. I think that's pretty high up. If you need it here, that would be fine, but then it ruins what I do with a preamble, because when you get into media training, part of the reason the strategy of a preamble is it gives you a place to retreat to. Look at the master class that we did on mastering media interviews, and we'll go deeper into that. It's on the Situation Hub blog page. The event's ongoing. Now, here's one of the places where people love to edit when we produce this. Most people, and none of you actually did this, but most of the time when I'm teaching media training, people want to combine these 3 sentences. We can confirm there are no known fatalities, there are no injuries, and everyone is accounted for. And here is why I leave these 3 statements. I go back to the days when I'm a journalist and I've got that little bitty reporter's notebook, and I've got a photographer over here, and I've got flashing lights over there, and I've got 3 other news crews jockeying for positions, and an engineer is trying to run cable for the live shot, and there are just a bevy of distractions. I'm half listening at a news conference. If this is my news conference script, I'm going to hear we can confirm there are no known fatalities. And I think I'm going to be more likely to get the facts straight if it's 3 separate thoughts instead of 1. For me, the responding agency down here is not all that important. I am not their spokesperson. I am not trying to send anybody to them for information. I'm trying to corral people here. So that's my intention for keeping that one low. Then I have a couple of statements that I'm embedding for the sake of admonishment, for the sake of managing expectations of the audience. And that's why I'm going to say we're in the process of gathering additional information, because if I'm at a news conference, they're going to keep asking me questions I don't have answers to, and I'm going to keep repeating that. The next thing I'm going to do is encourage everyone to avoid speculating. I know they're going to speculate. I know they're going to go on social media, but if I can keep 1 or 2 from doing it, I'm putting in that admonition. And then what I'm really doing with the statement about cautioning people about not sharing stuff on social media, again, I'm trying to manage expectations, but I'm actually trying to stomp out the rumors, okay? I'm trying to make people feel a little bit guilty if they do it. And then I'm going to tell the media to stay in touch with us. I'm going to give a website, and then I'm going to wrap things up. So I promised you in the promotion 10 things to consider when you're writing your news release. Short declarative sentence, in my opinion, increase comprehension, and it cuts through the distractions. Like I said, if I'm a reporter, I'm sitting here with my reporter's notebook, which is half this size, and I've got 10 different things going on. I've got a producer yelling at me in my ear. I've got 2-way radios going off. So for that reason, I'm going with short declarative sentences. The second thing is I'm going to try to go with 1 thought per sentence. The admonishment, I kind of combined rumors and social media into 1 statement. The preambles sometimes have 2 or 3 statements. But my goal is to write without commas. That's my goal. One thought per sentence. The audience can pick it out fast. Number two, I want to write fast. If my writing has longer sentences, longer paragraphs, more commas, think about what you do every time you write something. Every time we write an email, we spend an enormous amount of time rewriting what we've already written. We change one word and then we've got to read the whole thing again. And then we realize, oh, subject verb agreement isn't quite right. Now I've got to change another word. And now I've got to read it all over again. And then I'm going to read it to the bottom. Then I'm going to go all the way up to the top. So it can be very exhausting when we are writing in traditional paragraph form, the way we were taught in school. Number four, the approval process is much faster if there are fewer paragraphs and fewer commas. And to that point, I want to talk about the instructions that I encourage you to adopt when it comes to approval. Ask the question, is this factually correct? Tell me if you see an error. Is this factually correct? Tell me if you see an error. Because if we spend time writing and editing, everybody has an opinion. We gave out the news release. We got 3 different versions of it. And with my version, we have 4 different versions of the same news release. None of them are wrong. None of them are wrong. They all work. Every one of them could work. But if you wasted 25 minutes editing, or 14 minutes editing, or 10 minutes editing, instead of getting an accurate statement out, that's something we need to consider. I'm going to go back into to Situation Hub, and I'm going to go back into this. Bear with me as I get to the Situation Room. Look at the editing instructions. Can you see that? Number 1, review facts for correctness. Number 2, edit errors, but do not rewrite the language in the sentence. Number 3, print this page to use as a news conference script. Number 4, publish this statement if the facts are correct. So my best tip of the day, other than writing without commas, and who was it in the chat, but I want a t-shirt that says write without commas, and Abby's loving the approval questions. If you ask for someone's opinion, they're going to give it to you. You know, I think we could have an experiment that we write happy birthday or have a good day and ask everyone's opinion on an edit, and everybody could come up with a different edit. So for that reason, change the way you ask for approval. Let's get back into a couple more of these points. Okay. Number 5, skimmability. Not sure if that's a word, but it is today because I can write the way I want. Skimmability. We skim stuff. People don't read stuff. You know, when I teach media training, one of the things I ask every participant at the beginning of every class is, tell me where you get your news from. And then if they say, I get it from mobile and I read websites and I read blogs, I always say, how much of every story do you read? And 99% of the people say, I read the headline and the first paragraph. They read the lead paragraph. And then they don't even skim the rest, or they'll skim briefly, but they don't actually read it. So if you give people short statements, they can skim it fast. Copyability. Copyability. One of my goals is to control the edit of the news story. I am a control freak. I want to manipulate how the reporter publishes the story. One of the reasons I'm a huge believer in preambles for every type of event, and every type of event has a different opening preamble, is I am adding context. I'm creating a place that I can repeat and retreat to if I need to when tough questions come up, or if I need to reemphasize it. But I'm also trying to write the reporter's lead sentence. I am secretly embedding plagiarism in their mind. I want them to copy it, because if they use my words, then the headline is written based on the lead sentence, right? For those of you who aren't journalists, if you don't know this, when you see a headline, it's usually not written by the reporter. It is usually written by a copy editor who reads the first paragraph and then writes the headline. So if my preamble controls what the reporter writes, then I'm controlling what the headline is, then I'm controlling the audience's perception of headline, lead sentence, and skimmability. It's my evil plan. The other thing is, when we write for the spoken word, again, it's just the comprehension goes up exponentially. To show you how well this works, they're not on the call today, otherwise I would ask them. One of my Situation Hub users is a credit union, and they had a robbery out in rural Kansas the other day. They went into Situation Hub, they used their bank robbery template that I made for them. It was done in minutes. They immediately emailed it to their employees and to the local media. And I think they mailed it to customers in that jurisdiction. The reporter copied and pasted 2/3 of our news release to become his script. He actually copied far more of that, but 2/3 of his story consisted of the news release. The 1/3 that didn't was because he tried to include the fact that he tried to contact the FBI and the FBI had no comment, and he reached out to various law enforcement agencies who said it was under investigation. So he added other stuff, but we wrote the story. When I tell you it's word for word, it's word for word. I need to pull it up and use it for a blog so you can all see it. So copyability should be one of your goals. Accuracy by the media. They're skimming your stuff too. They are very cynical. I am very cynical. When I was in the newsroom, we had pigeonholes, and people would have their news releases in there. This was before the internet. Okay, so people would mail us news releases or fax us news releases, and we had the largest garbage can you've ever seen, and we would take them and go, oh, BS. Yeah, BS. And then if we opened one, we'd take a pen and you'd go, BS, 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 BS. Yeah, oh, here we go. Buried the lead 4 paragraphs down. So the media really throw away a boatload of what you write. And both your employee audience and your media audience are equally important. And for many of you, your employee audience is actually a more critical audience than the media audience. All of them are more cynical. All of them have less time to read. Consider your audience. And here's a secret. One message goes to all audiences: the media, your customers, your community, your employees. Everybody gets one statement. You don't have to spend time writing 4 different versions of the same statement. That was point number 7. Point number 8 of my 10 points. No one cares about your fake quote. Sorry, I said it. I am very proud of you that out of the 3 of you who rewrote my news release, no one tried to do a fake quote. I had one of my favorite companies in the world started using Situation Hub, and they said, well, it's not quite working right, and it's a little wonky. And so I had to dig in a little bit and try to find out, well, what is it? And they went, well, we always include a quote from our CEO. And I said, what? And they went, well, we've always done that. And that goes back to public relations school. That goes back to your English class. That goes back to your journalism school. They told you to put a quote in there. And my response to them was, let's pull up your local newspaper and let's match what I am seeing in your local paper to all of the news releases you've sent to them over the past 10 years. And let's count how many times your CEO's fake quote was in that story, because I don't see any. I don't see them using the fake quote. And then the other thing that I know is you wasted 30 minutes trying to get the CEO to approve the fake quote in order to send out the fake quote. So big takeaway, no fake quotes. Put that one on a t-shirt too. Number 9, give yourself permission to break the rules. Give yourself permission to break the rules. Number 9, give yourself permission to break the rules. I had an epiphany moment in college, and I wrote a column for my college newspaper, the Louisiana Tech Talk. And it was about the fact that I'd come to the realization in college, finally, that I could chew an entire stick of gum if I so desired. I grew up in a family of 5. Gum sticks were torn in half. If any of you grew up in a big family and you got a whole stick of gum, y'all were rich. Because we lived in the country, I literally grew up in what was a sugarcane field, which was now adjacent to a chemical plant. We tore gum sticks in half. The day I realized that I could have a whole stick of gum, I had to give myself permission to it. The day that I realized, again in college, that I didn't have to keep buying my jeans one size bigger because that's the way my mom always did, because I was going to grow into it by the end of the school year. There were these moments of epiphany and maturity. I want you all to have a moment of epiphany that you have permission to use short declarative sentences. You have permission to eliminate paragraphs. You have permission to eliminate commas. You have permission to change the entire approval process to, don't tell me what you think, but just tell me, is it right or is it wrong? So giving yourself permission is an important part of this entire process. That's number 9. And here's number 10, drum roll. Know your stakeholders. The media don't want to read that long paragraph. Know your stakeholders. Your employees don't want to read long paragraphs. It was interesting because when you think of who misinterprets things, it's often your employees. Your employees are the biggest source of misinformation. Always remember, your employees go in groups of thirds. 1/3 love you, 1/3 hate you, 1/3 swings like the pendulum. In the crisis, I'm not going to try to win over a whole bunch of that 1/3 that hates us, but I am going to try to maintain the loyalty of those who love us and get that group in the middle that swings like a pendulum. Know our audiences, get them the information fast so that we get them the information before they can turn it into rumors. So here are some things to think of as news release goals. Stakeholders want to know who, what, when, where, why, and how, as do journalists, who are one of your stakeholders. They also want empathy, accountability, and honesty. One of you put in the chat earlier that, the goal of getting something out fast speaks to your accountability. There were so many times that as a reporter, I would arrive at the scene of an incident and no one was there to talk to me. And I would often mumble to my photographer, yeah, let's get out of here fast. I don't trust these people. I trusted organizations that gave me information fast. I had distrust for organizations that were slow and silent. Bias happens when you aggravate the reporter because you don't give them the tools to do their job. I don't need a whole lot. I just need something. Don Henley said it great in his song Dirty Laundry. Just give me something I can use. And that's all I need is for you to fill in the gaps. And know what you're filling the gaps in on? The inverted pyramid. The inverted pyramid. Headline, lead sentence, or a synopsis sentence, which is how I created the preamble, and a quote. I need a quote from somebody. When I'm writing a story, I need to know who, what, when, where, why, and how. And I need a quote. And the sentence that goes before the quote, and the sentence that's crafted after the quote, or controlled by what that quote is. So live by your inverted pyramid. If you need a copy of this as a PDF to hang up on your desk, send me an email after the class and I will send it to you. Now let's talk a little bit about those opening paragraphs. The preamble has an enormous amount of power. Each type of incident has a unique preamble. Good news has a certain type of preamble. An embezzlement news release has a different type of preamble. A workplace injury, fatality, shooting, more serious preamble. But here's what it does. It always gives you a place to start. It always adds context to what is going on. Often it can be quotable. So I'm burying the quote, or I'm intentionally implanting the quote in the opening paragraph, my lead. I'm going to put some empathy in there if necessary, and I'm going to give further empathy later on, but I'm definitely going to put some inkling of empathy. And if I put empathy in there, I change the mood of the media at a news conference. So if it escalates to the point that we have injuries, fatalities, missing individuals, I'm going to add the sentence, our hearts are heavy with the news we have to share today. And when I say that, the mood in the room changes. Because if you've ever been in a news conference, you know, people are moving around, it's very hyper, it's almost a feeding frenzy. But as soon as the spokesperson utters the phrase, our hearts are heavy with the news that we have to share today, everybody calms down and the mood changes. And 9 times out of 10, when one of my spokespeople uses that line, it ends up in a pull quote in a printed document or a web document, or it ends up in the headlines of the newscast. So it's very powerful when you have those empathetic statements embedded. So it controls the mood of the news conference, and then the preamble becomes a place to retreat to. So if you've studied traditional media training, you know that any statement you've said in an initial statement, you can repeat to. One other thing that I want you to think about when you're writing your news release, I want you to realize that write it so that you can do like the old Associated Press, where we used to call rip and read, where I can grab it and walk out and read it at a news conference. The other thing that I'm going to do is I want it to proactively answer the questions that I'm going to be asked. I want it to proactively answer the questions. So in one of the news releases, the writer decided to edit out whether anybody was injured or died. I don't remember exactly how the edit went. The fact is, if you just tell me everybody's accounted for, accounted could be code word for, yeah, we know where everybody is, but Bob's dead and Sally's going to the hospital. So I would have to call and ask, well, is anybody dead? Is anybody injured? So if I can proactively answer questions before they get asked, then I am making my life easier. A couple of final points here. I just did that one. Answer the questions before they're asked and avoid speculation traps. So when we put a statement in a holding statement that says members of our team are continuing to assess the situation, the media are going to say, well, you know, what happened? How did it happen? Why did it happen? Could it have been prevented? Could it have gotten much worse? How worse could it get? All of those speculation questions, we have to learn to dismiss them. And in more complicated news statements in Situation Hub, I actually build in all of those statements that say it would be inappropriate for us to speculate on the cause. We'll wait for an investigation to tell us what happened, how it happened, and how we keep it from happening again. And if you don't have that internalized in your heart, head and heart, if I can't wake you up from a dead sleep and get you to say that, you need to write it down and practice it 3 times every day. So I'll say the phrase one more time. It would be inappropriate. The word inappropriate is key because it modifies human behavior. It would be inappropriate for me to speculate. We'll wait for an investigation to tell us what happened, how it happened, and how we keep it from happening again. Key phrase. So those are my tips for writing news releases. I can take questions from you by having you unmute. You can put a question in the text box, the chat space. Let's see a couple of things I'll read here while you add them. Bill says, the longer the paragraph, the greater the chance of misinterpretation. So true, Bill, in your lovely Eagle t-shirt. Rick says, amen. Enough with the fake quotes already. Bill says, plagiarism is the best form of journalism and flattery. I love it. Abby likes I love the approval questions. I love that you're going to be able to take that home there. Lillian said, perhaps put statement 1 at the end. Agree that speed of the statement. So the reason Abby, the reason I always put the preamble statement 1 where it is again, I'm trying to get them to steal the lead. I need a retreat location and I need to add context from the get-go. And again, this preamble is less critical than most other preambles and other statements. All right, so teaching your spokespeople to master the script is vital. You don't always have a news release. Well, 2 things. You don't always have to publish a news release. Some events don't need it. Prepare the news release. You don't have to publish it. You don't always have to call a news conference. Sometimes you put a statement out and the statement is sufficient. But I will say this, if you're dealing with TV, if you're dealing with online media who want a visual element, give them a video. So to that extent, I've traditionally built crisis communications plans that are dependent upon a library of pre-written news releases. I now put all of those news releases into Situation Hub. So whether you use Situation Hub or whether you have a library of pre-written news releases, hopefully you have one or the other, make it in oral script form always. Rewrite them today on a clear sunny day if necessary, if they're templates, and then train your spokespeople to deliver them perfectly. Teach them to talk at half the speed they would normally talk. Teach them how to read, internalize, then look up. Teach them how to use the language on that page to answer questions. Teach them how to retreat and repeat statements that are embedded there. Mastering the script is so critical. Recognize that if you want to satisfy all media, you can put a written statement on your website, which I highly recommend. Then you can record a video and add it to that website. Often media don't even need to come out to your location if they can pull that very same statement off of a YouTube video or off of a Facebook Live or any other means of publishing that you would use in an online application, some type of social media application. Give them video, make their life easy. The easier you make it for them, the better off you're going to be. Last call, if you have a question, you can jump in the chat real fast. If not, I am going to wrap up our day here and keep us all on time. So if you have questions, as always, use this link on Calendly and reach out to me if you have something confidential that you need to discuss. I'm always happy to talk with you guys afterwards. If you need a demo of Situation Hub to see how it works for your organization, by all means, use that link also. And I look forward to getting together with you guys in December. And I look forward to you guys also giving me ideas of what do you want to know more about? What helps you in your job? What topic ideas do you want us to cover? If you have special guests that you would like us to invite, by all means, let me know who it is. If you think you're the perfect guest, let me know. Happy to have you on as a guest. So for Situation Hub, for our masterclass on changing the way you write, I am Jarrett Bro. I will see you next month. Be well, everyone.